This is one of my favorite topics and something I'm really, really good at is getting all of this stuff organized. This is usually what everyone struggles with. Most people that I've worked with. Time is much more important than your talent. We're gonna go through time blocking, schedule habits, and how to organize your business to where you're not stressed out all the time. That is the goal of that part. And we're gonna do a little exercise. And then what I wanna cover that I think isn't covered a lot, I think people always hit the schedule, always hit these certain things, which is great. We always need to hit that stuff, which is why we're hitting it, because it really is like the foundation and bedrock of your business. But I also want to teach you about this thing called KPIs. Anybody heard of a KPI before? Those key performance indicators. So I'm going to teach you guys what those are, how to develop those, and give you some ideas of why that's important. But having KPIs is essentially how you organize and prioritize your time, know what activities to focus on, and know what processes to actually fix. And if you don't know them, you might feel like you're driving blind, okay? And that's usually what most people I work with, they usually don't know. And then I'll give you some recommendations on how to multiply your time and fix some of those problems with some of the things that I use in my business that are either relatively affordable or free. Brittany, I did 7 years of door-to-door sales. I went to the University of Tennessee. I did 3 years while I was in college. I made $100,000 just in 36 weeks while I was in school. Did accounting and finance, so I have that background that's really unique for salespeople. Usually they hate the organization, the numbers, and doing all of the admin type things, so I'm pretty good at that. I did 4 years full-time as a recruiter. I recruited in Michigan and Tennessee. I actually recruited 43 salespeople to go door to door and sell books on straight commission, 80 hours a week. Hey, let's go, right? No experience. And I taught students literally from not ever selling a thing to being able to make $30,000, $40,000 in a 12-week period in the summer and run their own self-sufficient book business. We sold educational books and apps and websites. So best year I ever had was during COVID. Actually, that was my claim to fame. I went and sold during COVID in Pulaski, Virginia. I had about 35 sales reps with me. We sold $1 million of books in 11 weeks when everyone else thought it was gonna not work out. So we did that through systems, right? Through KPIs. We had a lot of social media marketing that we're not going to get into a lot of that. I have other talks about that. Some of you have heard it before. But we'll dive really into the systems that led to the success. Like these are some KPIs down here, right? I knew that if I worked enough hours, talked to enough people, did enough demos, did enough sales presentations, that 40% of those sales presentations would buy. And I knew if I knocked on enough doors and had someone answer and they were the right person, I knew 59% of those people would lead to a sales presentation, which I knew 40% would close. And then if I knew my average package size, I knew how much money I would probably make in a week. And it took all the fear out of selling. I believe that sales is much more like a math problem than it is a personality contest. So that's what we're going to talk about today. In general, when we're thinking about systems, processes, we are looking at someone's total marketing funnel. So I like to talk, at least for the salesperson, they get this a lot better. From start to finish, what's your entire process, right? And this is a question I'm going to ask you that you're probably going to say no to, but this is basically your first step in order to grow your business in this sort of systematic way. Do you have everything written out from start to finish, everything you say, everything you do, every button you push, from the beginning you meet someone to the time that they give you money? Okay, write that down. That's step one for you. Because if it's not written out, you'll never know what to fix. You'll never know if you're saying the right thing or the same thing, because lots of you are probably very talented with human beings, and you can go meet with them and you can be on and excited and you'll have a great thing and you'll say this great thing this one time and you'll forget the next time and they'll say no. Right? So we want to start writing these things down. Okay, so that's step one for you guys. And it should be this entire process. Someone doesn't know you, to they love you and want to work with you and give you referrals, okay? What we want to build when we get to the KPI section, something like this, where literally I can do a math problem and know what I should make. Does that kind of make sense? We're not going to get all of that today, but we are going to teach you the value of it and give you some ideas to get started, okay? Okay, not a magician up here. I wish that'd be cool if I could just pull something out and make this for you, okay? I was really good at what I did, Brittany. I usually put this in here to tell people that I was good at what I do, so they know that what I'm talking about is pretty awesome. I had some awesome teams. This is what some of these things are, okay? But since everybody else knows me, I won't bore you with it. But let's just say I was really good. Had a startup in fitness and sold through Instagram, all this different stuff. So, okay, top 1% mindset, right? As we're going through, okay, this is usually what people struggle with. There's reason businesses plateau is because people have egos. They want to do it themselves always. They're often not open to advice. And the reason I know this is true because I've done this before. So if it's you, you struggle with that stuff, that's okay. But we want to get in this mindset, okay? So how to win in any industry. There's 5 things to help you be successful in any industry. We're gonna focus on habits, sales, and systems. Okay, accountability is having somebody that teaches you stuff. Somebody who's always holding you accountable to becoming better. Key part that most people don't include is having like your buddy, okay? Your goal is to get in front of the most qualified leads, period, in the least amount of time. Anything else is sort of a shiny object. Reasons people's business plateaus. It's time focused, being disorganized. So these are the things that people struggle with. They can't let go. So I want you to write down a rule of thumb to help you overcome this feeling that you have to do everything yourself. If someone can do it 80% as well as you, you should leverage it. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. There's a reason Warren Buffett makes whatever millions and millions he does a year versus, you know, the average realtor or the average salesperson in any industry. It has everything to do with time, everything to do with focus. It has nothing to do with how talented Warren Buffett is. It's about him being smart about where he's spending his specific time based on his greatest strengths, okay, rather than trying to do what everyone else does. All right, who wins in these scenarios? 100 leads versus 20 leads. Who sells more? 100, okay. 100 buyer consultations versus 20. Okay, this is silly, right? But systems and time allow you to do this sort of thing. So there's 4 steps to basically fixing this problem, okay? Number 1 is your planning schedule, habits, and time blocking, okay? 2 is gonna be, again, identifying your KPIs, what those are for you. They're different for different people. I've got a client, Erin Cooper, who is a marketplace recruiter for Keller Williams that I work with now, and she's got like 6 different ways to generate leads, right? And so when we go through these KPIs, we're gonna map out for the next month or 2 exactly what has the best closing percentage, you know, and stop spending time on 6 different leads and pick 3. On Sunday, okay, either in the afternoon or the morning based on your schedule, sit down for 30 minutes to an hour and plan your week. It makes a massive difference, okay? Start with your goals and most important activities. How you identify that is what makes you the biggest return on your investment. What are you best at? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? In the book I'm coming out with, which Harlan and I were just chatting about, if your goals for 5 or 10 years aren't in your daily schedule, they're never going to happen. You've got to take small steps to get there, right? But what we want to avoid is this thing called shiny object syndrome. Okay, where, oh, we get excited about this one thing and this other thing and then 3 more things, and we end up our day is just distracted on our phone or talking to people who aren't our ideal client. And this happens to everyone. I'll give you a great example. We pioneered a couple listing videos that would be really cool for clients. We did a good one for Brandy Leiden. It helped her get a bunch of showings for a listing that she had and all that kind of stuff. And then it just got to the point where it ended up taking more time. So it ends up being a service that we're just going to put on the back burner because the actual return on investment after we looked at it doesn't make sense for us to do it that way. Coaching better. Does that make sense? After seeing like how much we're going to make and all that kind of stuff. You should do the same thing with yours. I know some people do commercial real estate and it takes them 3 years to close something and they're not making a lot of money. You should think about those types of things, okay? Better schedule looks something like this, where you know what you're doing every 30 minutes. So this is my schedule for this week. Doesn't that look fun? So I'm going to teach you guys this thing called rocks, pebbles, and sand. And I want you guys to make 3 categories on your sheet of paper real quick. A rocks category, a pebbles category, and a sand category, okay? Imagine your week is essentially a jar, right? And the air inside is your time. So you have a jar of time, essentially, and your activities are represented by these rocks, these pebbles, and these sands, okay? If you were to put sand first, you can't put rocks next. If you put sand first, you can't put as many pebbles next. If you put pebbles, then sand, then rocks, you get less rocks. So in order to maximize your week, you do rocks first, right? Then you do pebbles second, which are the smaller little stones that fit in around it. And then sand just kind of fills up the rest of the space. Does that kind of make sense? So what people struggle with is not understanding this analogy. They struggle with identifying what their rocks are. Let me give you some examples of rocks. One rock that is often sand for people, okay, this is a big one, sleep. Sleep, and when you wake up every single day, it's not pretty much exactly the same, or at least planned out where you're getting 8 hours of sleep, you are limiting your potential by a lot. There's so many sleep studies that say if you get like 6 or 7 versus 8 hours of sleep that you just operate on a complete different wavelength. In fact, to prove that point, when I was selling bookstore, there'd be people who would wake up earlier than I would, who would always sell less. They would start earlier, they would end later, and they would sell less than me because they were really tired. Okay, so sleep does. Okay, another rock would be something like if you're trying to recruit a team, like recruiting could be a rock for you. Another one could be fixing the system because you are absolutely going crazy with how much work that you have and you do not have time for anything else. And so you need to like fix your system. So rocks and pebbles and all these different things, they can change over time based on your goals, which we'll talk about in a second. But it just needs to be the most important things. Rocks could also be your kids, it could be your spouse, it could be a vacation you have coming up at some point. You know, vacations are often pebbles for people. Which can move around as well, right? But sometimes it's good to have rest. Rest actually helps you come back stronger. Pebbles are things that are flexible, very important, but flexible. There's no negative benefit or negative result if you move it around. So that could be, for me, that's recording a podcast episode. You know, it's super important. I get one every single week. I get content every single week. But if I'm doing it right now versus having to go sit in the studio, it's the same. I don't have to go record one in the studio this week because I have this awesome video being recorded right now, right? And that's going to go up on my YouTube and the podcast. So those are flexible things, right? Those are things we can move around, things that maybe we need to schedule some time for, right? But maybe we don't have, like scheduling appointments, different things like that. Okay, sand, anything else? Anything, time wasters, games on your phone, chit-chatting for a really long time. You know, I would say that like actual relationships that are important to you should be a rock or a pebble, like prioritizing that time and just like sort of chit-chat with random people that maybe aren't on your top list of friends or something can be a distraction, essentially. In fact, I had a client where people would just come in and distract her all day, and what helped her grow her business fastest was actually just putting a sign on the door that said, "Do not enter." Okay. Okay, so what I want you to do is basically just, your homework for after this meeting is to literally just write down all of the different activities that you need done every day, and you need to look at your goals. If you don't have goals for the rest of the year or for the next 12 months or 3 months or this month, you probably should set some goals, and you should identify is your rocks and your activity, you know, is it including where you're trying to actually go with your goals? Likely it's missing some things, so you want to add those things and then put those in your schedule, okay, for the extra week, for the next week on Sunday morning. So that way you're not putting it off. Does that make sense? Because otherwise we'll procrastinate, forget, get stressed, not do it. Nobody else. So how you want to live and how you want to run your business is completely up to you. And what are rocks to you is completely subjective. It can be subjective in an unhealthy way. It can be subjective in a really healthy way. And so what's important is that you just figure out what you value most about why you're doing what you're doing and connect that to your schedule every week. You'll feel good, you'll not burn out as much, and just making sure that you're actually working towards your goals. When you focus for 45 minutes versus getting on your phone every 10 minutes for 2 hours, you actually accomplish more. So I'm blocked to where you're not doing anything but one activity for an hour or for 30 minutes or for an hour and a half. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of it, okay? Sketch, okay, this is what I used to do all the time, this is what I do now. Front load your week. Has anybody ever heard of that strategy? What can happen is that you don't want to lead gen when you get tired, right? Because it's hard and you got to be on and you get no's and you got to call for a long time. So however you lead gen, put that at the beginning of your week. So that way you can schedule all of your fun meetings where it's easier, right, to get energy from people. If you're introvert, sorry, me too, right? Put all the meetings at the end, so by the end of the week, you have all these meetings, you can sign some people up, get some contracts, whatever it is, okay? In the morning, the thing that you don't want to do that's difficult for you, so for the past month, because I finished my book about a month ago, the 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every single morning was write the book. Every morning, and I put nothing there ever. Nothing ever got in the way of writing the book for 9 months straight, essentially, no matter what. And that's writing and doing that, for me, at the end of the day, is like the absolute worst thing. And actually, if I wrote at the end of the day, my tone would kind of be angry in the book. When I wrote in the morning, it would be really creative, it would be really warm. If you are door knocking or something, like, do it in the morning. Do that first. Okay, how to avoid burnout in general. Again, there's lots of concepts we call an annual cycle. It's different for every single business what cycles are, but most of you know the real estate cycle. When are you busy in real estate?
In the summertime, before school.
Right? Okay, cool, so we all get that. Why does everyone panic in fall when your sales go down? Shouldn't we invest in some systems to maybe maximize the summer instead of just constantly being on this hamster wheel of keep working really, really hard for a lower return every time you're working hard in the fall? Does that make sense? So why not make a bigger push in the summer, being smart about how you do it all so you can handle more volume, right? So that way the fall can be more of a systems time, for example. What I want you to do is I want you to just write down summer, spring, winter, fall. Keep it simple for right now. This is something we could have a whole conversation about outside of here if you want to elaborate on some of these different things. Happy to talk to people. But just write down, what is that going to be for you? What's your main focus? When's your selling season? When we were selling books, if we sold 80 hours a week all summer, no one would ever even knock on a door. Right? So what I see a big mistake is people are trying to be completely consistent all the time, which is great when you're trying to be consistent, but bad in the overall scheme of an annual cycle, because your efforts in the summer are going to get you more revenue than your efforts in the winter, of course. We all get that, right? So instead of pushing really hard for the winter, again, work on your systems. How can we get more mileage out of next summer when things have a bigger return on investment? KPIs is key performance indicators, right? So this is the reason that your business is successful. Examples are closing percentage of each lead source. If you can actually get it down to a science, I'll show you what we did with a wholesale real estate company and how we've grown their business a chunk every single month because of some of these percentages that we did with just their appointment setters, just their phone process, not even looking at the whole rest of it just yet. Another example is like how many people show to your meetings versus cancel. Do you guys know how many people show up, cancel, show up, cancel? The reason that's so important is you can send an email, right? Maybe with some videos, right? Multiply your time, video, and they can read and learn and listen and watch and get to know me. And they show up. Isn't that wild? You want to start figuring out like, cold calling might get you leads, but how much time is it costing you? What if you put that time somewhere else to a better lead generation strategy? What you can do is say, okay, if we get 70, if we call 300 people, we're gonna get 80 people to answer or so, and then of those 80, we'll get like 25 people in the pipeline, right? And if we know that, then we know that all we have to do is get $300 a week or $300 a month, and we'll be fine, and things will work out because we'll have leads coming in. Does that make sense? So how to track these. So here's what I want you to write down is just all of the ways that you get leads real quick. This is how you track this. Just write down all the ways you get leads, okay? This is for what we put together for Erin Cooper. She has these things called ELP leads, which are Dave Ramsey or something. She's got agent-to-agent referrals, listing invitations, listing seminars. She's got open houses that she does. So these are a bunch of ways to do it. I know there's like 18 ways to get leads in real estate or whatever. There's probably more than that if you're really creative with it. Write down what you do, okay? And what you want to do is start tracking how many leads you get, because you need to know how many leads a month you will get no matter what, essentially. What's the average that you can expect? And the longer you do this, the more you're gonna know what your annual cycle is. You'll probably see in December, you're gonna get very few leads, but in July, you might get like 50, right? So again, so you can plan this, that way you can plan income and not freak out and have to work really hard and be stressed all year, okay? And then you wanna figure out what percentage of people that actually you talk to, conversations, turn into appointments. So that tells you if your phone script is good. Are you bad on the phone? If you're getting like 20% of people to say yes to a meeting, your phone script's bad. If you're like 60% plus, you're good on the phone. Then if you set an appointment, if they show up or not tells you, are you sending the right email? Are you confirming the right way? Are you sending enough information? Are they getting confused? Are they Googling you and it looks bad or something, right? Or maybe there's nothing there. So they're like, oh, this person I've never met. Can't find them online. Must be a scam. You can see where people aren't showing. You start changing things in your system, right? And then you can start seeing that percentage go up. You're like, oh, sweet, that works better. And you keep going until you get to the percentage that you want to get to, which I would say that if people talk to you, have a good conversation, and don't show up, it should only be 10% of people not showing if you're good. And then you want to do that for every lead source, because every lead's not the same. Every lead is totally not the same. If you have a cold call lead, you're probably gonna have a lower show rate, right? A referral of your family member is probably gonna show up even if you're not good, right? So every lead's not the same. So we just wanna figure out what's the best leads, can we controllably generate leads in your warmest categories, and then, right, we put that into your schedule. What I want you to do as homework, guys, is just write down every single step of your sales process, okay, from start to finish. If you ever wanna have a team, if you ever wanna grow the business in a systematically scalable way, you can have this on your computer as you call people. You can have this written down to make check boxes, right? So that way you're making sure you're doing the same thing and the best thing with everyone. But you're also gonna start figuring out how to recruit people in the long term if you wanted to, or how to hire an admin. Admins can't help you if they don't know what they're supposed to do. And if you don't know what they're supposed to do because you don't know what you do, they can't help you and you're kind of stuck. You'll plateau. This week, if you can remember how many leads you've generated, how many conversations you've had. If you can look back in your schedule and just sort of make yourself a little tally marks of how many leads you generated in your different areas, how many conversations, how many appointments, how many people said yes to a buyer's contract or having you be their listing agent, and start seeing your percentages. You have the numbers, you just haven't written them down. When I used to recruit people to go door to door, I would just show them that it was called a canvassing chart, okay? It was what we used to use, where we had all the statistics. And I'd just show them, yeah, if you see this many people, and we had 100, 100,000, there's 100,000 people do this, of exactly how many people they talked to, how many hours they worked, and what the result was. And then there was this really strong statistical correlation. If you saw 180 people in a week, you would make, as a rookie, at least like $10,000 or $12,000. So all we would train them on is just do this one thing, and everything works out. When you can simplify something like real estate to one activity or two activities, people can do it. Anyone can do it. But when you got to figure it out all yourself, or you're not sure where to focus, right, it gets really hard, and that's probably why 80% of people quit. So here's my favorite systems and solutions for some of these problems. I'll go through each one of these and some different applications of this. There's a whole big list because systems is a big thing. This is not something you're going to knock out in a weekend per se. It's something that is going to take you some time, probably a month or so, to actually get good at this, to where it's something working for you versus something on your task list that's stressing you out. But once you do build it, it does work for you, okay? And after you scan the thing today, you guys will see all of the things that I've built that I'm a big believer in automating, for example. So Google Drive, in general, if you're using paper for everything that you do, that is very much 25 years ago at this point. So I very much encourage you to get on Google Drive and start having Word docs. And the reason that's so important is because it's scalable. If you're trying to share your best advice with people, but you only wrote it on a piece of paper, and think about sending them a picture to one of your clients of your chicken scratch, right? And is that professional? Right? No, it's not. So if you have a good Google Doc, you can actually multiply, right, your time. You just send them a link in your next email, right? If you hire somebody, hey, here's the drive, read through all of the stuff, instead of, hey, here's my notebook, try to read what I've written. That notebook gets wet, you just lost 2 years of notes, and it's not very sustainable. Start using Google Drive. It's totally free. They have very cheap options if you need a lot of storage online as well. I'm a big fan. If you say the same thing, okay, more than once a week, you probably could make a video to save that time. If you have a client who's coming to you and they always ask you the same question, Brittany, I don't understand why I need to send in $1,000 check to hold the thing. What's that even called? And you spend 10 minutes explaining it, and you have, right, an hour or something, right? Is that really that valuable? Or what if you had a video that you sent her, like, hey, excited to meet you, watch these 3 videos, it's gonna explain everything, and they come in there like, wow, Brittany, that was so amazing, I totally understand everything, let's get to work. Make a really good video, and you'll see your show rate show up, because nobody else does that kind of stuff. You want to have some free tips and stuff like that, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you can get a lot of really cool tips that I do every single week, or see these different speeches that I go around Knoxville doing. And then you will get a text from an 855 number. So if you want like updates on the book coming up, if you want updates on speaking, on the business growth club that we have once a month on the second Wednesday of every month, just put yes on that so you can get text.
Thank you to all the sponsors who make this show possible. This episode is sponsored by Donna Bowling. Donna has been in the lending business for more than 16 years. She is dedicated, dependable, and an incredibly efficient loan officer. She's the Bankers Association Lender of the Year, Secretary and Treasurer of Tennessee Mortgage Bankers Association, and past president of Knoxville Mortgage Bankers Association. If you want to ensure you have the best possible lender for your next mortgage, contact Donna Bowling at 865-414-8973. Are you in search of a title agency that truly puts you first? Look no further than Knoxville Title Agency, where excellence meets exceptional customer service. At Knox Title Agency, they understand that buying or selling a property can be a complex process. That's why their team of dedicated professionals, led by Regional Director Chase Reno, is here to guide you every step of the way. Their mission is simple: to provide you with a seamless and stress-free title experience. They pride themselves on their attention to detail and going above and beyond for their clients. At Knox Title Agency, you'll receive exceptional exceptional customer service that sets them apart from the rest. They believe in creating a welcoming culture where you feel valued and confident in your decision. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a real estate investor, or a seasoned homeowner, they have the expertise to handle all your title needs. Trust them to navigate the complexities of title searches, insurance, and closings so that you can focus on what matters most to you. Experience the Knox Title Agency difference today. Give them a call at 865-691-1100 or visit their website at knoxvilletitle.com. Knoxville Title Agency, where excellence meets exceptional customer service. Knoxville Title Agency, your trusted partner in all your title needs.